Hello, this is Froogle, and here we are with a first impressions look, kind of a special first impressions look at the Aerosoft Twin Otter, or DHC6. Now I know the Twin Otter has another name. It's kind of a conjoining of the word twin, or the first two letters, and otter. I'm not going to use that. I don't like it. I don't think it's particularly funny. So that's the serious bit out of the way. Anyway, this was a fairly highly anticipated aircraft from Aerosoft. I'm not entirely sure why. I know that they had a Twin Otter in the past. I never really paid attention to it, but given how anticipated this one was, I thought I would check it out. And it's actually very, very nice. It's a bit of a challenge. It's as you can see, dual prop. There are 3 liveries that it comes with. I'm choosing Solomon's here. There is also a cargo one, can't remember what it is, and there's an Alaska Air one as well. And it's turbine driven as well, which poses some interesting problems for managing the engines, because there's a noticeable lag between you doing something on the power levers and then the engines responding, which takes a little bit of forward planning in terms of landings and stuff like that. It's actually a very nice model as well. Look, Aerosoft are really getting quite a name for themselves lately in doing some very, very high quality models and aircraft. I'm pleased to say, like, their Airbus is actually not bad at all. Now there's some nice features in this as well. Let me jump into the cockpit and I'll show you some of them. In fact, let me move the microphone as well so that you can hear me, because I'm relaxing. I'm kicking back relaxing. The reason that this is a special trip is, as many of you know, I'm with a virtual airline, British Airways Virtual. The reason for being in a VA is that it gives you a reason to fly, and it lets you learn some stuff. So you'd fly routes that are normally real world routes, perhaps using aircraft you wouldn't normally use. I actually joined British Airways Virtual because I hadn't flown tube liners before, and I wanted to get familiar with the NGX, and then subsequently you have all the videos that are on my channel, and the rest, as they say, is history. They have 2 DHC6 or Twin Otter routes up in Scotland. So we're currently at Glasgow, and we're going to fly northwest to Barra, little island, and then we're going to fly back again. The reason that this is a special trip is, in a VA you have ranks, and the ranks open up additional airframes and also open up additional routes. So when you join, for example, British Airways Virtual, you're a first officer. Then after 50 hours you become a senior first officer, which gives you the 767. That's about it. And then once you reach 100 hours you become captain. As soon as you reach captain, you can do long haul flights, which is something I've always wanted to do. I have a couple of aircraft that I want to do long haul flights with. I have an MD-11 here that I've never actually flown, and a number of you asking me to fly it, and also the 747, a number of people have been asking for, which I don't have yet, but I'm thinking about it. So I am 98.3 hours in. So I have 1.7 hours to go. The flight up to Barra is about an hour. The flight back is about an hour. Ta-da! 100 hours. So I thought for my 100-hour milestone I would do something different and fly this rather than an NGX or an Airbus. I've been whizzing around a cockpit here. You can see it's very, very attractive. Everything's very well modeled. Everything is all 3D. Look, 3D dials. Coronado have been going on about their 3D switches and dials recently, but there they are, 3D dials. Pretty good. I have all my EasyDock settings set up, so there's an overhead panel, which is actually nice and simple. Nothing too complex here. Starting this up is a breeze. Simply turn on the power, turn on the battery, hit the starter, away you go. There's a lot more to it than that. This is a very intricately modeled aircraft, so we're going to split this first impressions, as always with my first impressions, into a number of videos. In this first one, we'll be looking at the features, taxiing, startup, and all that good stuff. In the second one, probably the flight, and the third one, probably the flight back. The reason I wanted to do it that way is Barra is a pure visual airport. There's no VORs, there's no ILSs or anything like that. So it's a very good first flight, which will be probably the second video, flying into Barra, and then a visual landing, visual approach, and all that traditional Cessna type stuff. Flying back to Glasgow, we're going to follow probably the VOR DME approach, which is quite interesting. Won't be following the ILS or anything like that, but we will be doing a proper VOR DME approach, which should be interesting to try and a bit of a challenge for this plane. Anyway, neat features on this. Check this out. There's a big booklet in here. Now, you can go into configuration here and you can turn on failures and icing, so it will model icing. It doesn't draw the icing, unlike the Dash 8, but it does model it. You can check whether the propellers are feathered during start and include that on the checklist, and so on and so on. You can choose to configure this aircraft in cold and dark or ready to fly. Obviously right now I have it cold and dark. If you want to mess with the doors, the buttons are there. So far so good. Alright, that sets up the aircraft. The cool stuff though is actually this. All of these checklists. This is why it's cool. Look at this. If we go into the pre-start checklist, what you can do is you can actually click on the text, and it will move the view to where that item is. So control lock's off. It's put the view here because you click that. And then you can left click here and that's done. Parking brake. View's going to stay where it is. We'll set that on. Nope, that's on right there. Done. Fire handles. Click that. Push you up here. There's the fire handles. They should both be in, and so on and so on. If you don't want to mess with all that, you can simply right click on these checkboxes. Watch. So as I run through here, if these things are not set, then this little check system, oh, just flicked a switch there, this little checklist system will actually do it for you. Look, it's turning on all sorts of lovely stuff. How cool is that? So you can actually cold and dark all the way up to powered up this aircraft with all the tests, step by step. You do it the quick way like I'm currently doing. There goes the power. Or you can click on the text and then right click, and then click on the text and right click, and click on the text and right click, and just run through all of these and get a good feel for how to manage this aircraft, which is cool because it's not a terribly complex aircraft, but it is complex, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Probably not. Anyway, let's go to the next page. So here are all checks. I'm not going to run through all these checks. Let's just assume it works. And then we get on to engine start, which I'm actually not going to use the checklist for. Well, actually, yes, I will. I will leave the checklist up on the screen here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. There we go. Because I will be referring to this from time to time as we fly. But what I will do is actually start this myself. So, starting, as I said, is very easy. Having done all those checks, you can just follow the checklist here. So fuel levers off. Well, the fuel levers are up here. These two big red knobs need to be back, which they are. So that's off. I will left click now. Prop levers, full, forward, and feather. Oh, let's change it. It's just synchronizing all my controls now. All right. So full forward, and then feather. All right. No, it wants full forward. My apologies. Full forward. That's good. Power levers should be to idle. Now look at the power levers. It's a bit like a Dash 8, just like any other turbine aircraft, really. Where they currently are, it's actually reverse. So you move them forward, and there is a flight idle there. It's actually the beta range at this point, and then you go from beta range up to full power. In beta range, this acts as a brake. You can slide them back a touch as well, and that will put you in, give you more brake or reverse. And this aircraft, according to the manual, does a kind of a DC-9 trick in that it can self-reverse, which we'll be doing shortly. I don't really trust the pushback people here in Glasgow. So power levers should be on flight idle. Let's make sure they are. Yep. And it's nice, actually. I've calibrated my controls with FSU IPC, and I don't know if you can hear that. I'm moving the levers. There is a sizable area here which is flight idle. I really don't like aircraft where you go from flight idle to reverse and it's like a millimeter movement of the power levers. In this aircraft, they've done it really well. It's a good inch there, half an inch, before you go from power to reverse. I like. So let's check on that one. Boost pump, forward and aft should be on. Okay, we can do that. They're down here. That one and that one. Turn that on there. Start switch, engine right. Okay, what we do now is we kick over the starter and then we look for NG down here to be greater than 12%. So once that hits 12%, then we're going to kick on the fuel lever and then full forward on the right prop. So let's go ahead and do that. There it goes. Here comes the needle. There it goes. That's over 12% now. And we are full forward on the prop already. No need to worry about that. And you should see the engine fire up and hear it. Now repeat for the other engine. So start switch to engine left. Wait for that to get above 12% NG. Alright, fuel cut off forward. Props are already forward. Wonderful. Now I did have a bug with this, and I checked the support forums, and there was a hot fix that you could download, which I had to install. The engines would not start for me, even doing the auto start. Had to install this little hot fix thing, and now they're just fine. Just bear that in mind if you get this yourselves and have a problem starting the aircraft. It can be a little temperamental. Alright, so we've done that, we've done that, oh, we've done that. Generators left and right should both be on, and our load should be less than 0.5. So generators are up here. Click, click. We can go look at the load. There it is. It's actually bang on. In fact, no, it's not. It's less than 0.5. Good, good, good. I'm using Active Sky on a different computer. The QNH is 1028. It actually should be metric, not 1028, but we'll let it go. You've got both down here, so it doesn't matter. 1028. There it is. Now notice that light there, that shows we're in beta range. Then move the throttles forward a little bit. Those lights should go off, just like in the Dash 8 with that ground warning there. Pneumatic low pressure is a function of the fact that nothing is really powered up yet. I don't have a lot of power going to the engines or anything like that. I don't have bleed air on. That will go off later. As you reduce power on the engines though, that will come on again. Not a big deal, to be honest. Alright, got a full GPS here, which is the built-in FSX GPS. Got a radio stack down here, and here, and here, and here. Lots of stacks. Let's turn that on. We're going to go VFR. Now what have we got down here? We have got, whoops, actually pressed the wrong button. Okay, so they're Bendix King units. You should be used to these already. I'm not going to mess with them too much. Now we don't have anything we can fly towards like a VOR up at Barra. But they do have an NDB if I want to use that. I'm not actually going to use it. What I'm going to do is use the built-in GPS. So let's just click on message. Alright, we'll get rid of that. So we're going to do direct to. And it is EGPR. Very simple if you've never used this before. Direct to. Start rolling. So find E, which is right about there. Then roll right. Whoops. E, G. Go right, P, go right, and R. Can actually do that going backwards quicker, I think. There it is, Barra. Enter, enter, enter. Now we have a direct to route. We'll follow that. So the direct to track is 311 degrees. So with that all set up, we can just fly over here. We will set a heading of 311 degrees. Now it's a little bit hard to see these dials, as you can see. That's worth bearing in mind. So 311, I don't have hints turned on, so I've got to kind of guess it's going to be about there. Right about there. Alright, let's go back to my normal view. Let's do the party trick, and we'll do a little bit of reversing very slowly out of the gate here. Let's turn our taxi light on. Let's turn on the rest of the lights actually while we're here. And we will start reversing. So, brakes off. I'll pull these back into the negative range. Being very gentle, don't want to leap backwards as I did by accident on a Dash 8 a little while ago. I actually do have track IR on, so I'm just going to turn that on right now so I can see how we're doing. Being very gentle in how I move these levers back. I don't really want to launch myself backwards. I did manage to put this in reverse once with the brakes on, and it did flip over onto its tail. I'm moving those props out of beta range now. Don't need to go back a lot, just enough to get away from the gate there. And we can start our taxi out to runway 5. Now, because of the power system, because there is such a lag between feeding in power and it responding, you need to be very careful. Listen to the engines as well. Keep a close eye on your surroundings. Don't let the aircraft run away with you. As soon as it starts moving like that, back off the power, which I just did. And we are going to start taxiing out to runway 5. You can see the power levers there up above. I'm kind of being very ginger with them. You do have a little bit of control in beta range right here. It's a little bit more instantaneous than it is higher up on the power settings. I am still getting used to this aircraft, so I am still going to be very ginger. I know the purists are going to be screaming at me because I'm not following the taxi line, so let me move over here and get on the taxi lines. I mean, realistically at Glasgow you wouldn't self-push back either, but it's a simulator and it's a first impressions video. So while I'm taxiing, let me just be clear on what first impressions is. The first impressions videos I do are typically done with very little knowledge of the aircraft. I have some, typically read the manual. I have a good idea of what the aircraft can do. I've probably flown it a few times. I'm not an expert on it. I will get stuff wrong. So before people jump on the comments, Froogle, you missed. Yes, I know. It's a first impressions video. If I do later videos, then they will be less first impression like. Now there is an autopilot in this. It is very basic. It will do altitude hold. It won't climb to a set altitude and it won't descend to a set altitude. You need to fly the aircraft yourself. It is pretty good at following nav, which we're not going to do. We're just going to do it on heading select. And when we come back, we'll be doing it on VORs and radials. I'm not a big fan of GPS in older aircraft. I know this has a GPS in modern day aircraft, so it is kind of realistic. I'm just not a big fan because it's not an accurate GPS. It's the FSX GPS. It just feels kind of like a cheat. Like you could load a flight plan in here and say follow the flight plan, but where's the fun in that? Slaloming a little bit. It is pretty hard to keep this thing taxiing well. It is very twitchy. Let's bring in these power levers now back to idle. See the speed will start dropping off. I'm going to turn right on the next taxiway. What we will also do at this point is bring out those checklists once again. As always, my clouds and weather are being handled by Rex Textures. Active Sky actually doing the weather on a different computer. I don't have any additional scenery up here except for GEX and UTX. And I've never used them this far north, so I'm not even sure they're going to work too well. We'll see. And obviously for the first impressions video, I never have ATC, never have traffic, because I'm going to suck. The idea is to give you an impression of the aircraft, but hopefully not a terribly bad one. Alright, so it's going to stop here before we get on the runway. So flaps to 10 degrees. Done. Flight instruments checked, yes. Radios are set, I'm not going to use them. Prop levers full forward, they are. Auto feather should be on, which it is. Lights. Okay, engine instruments. Engines are good. Bleed air left and right as required. We're actually going to turn those on. They are up here. They are already on. Okay. De-ice we don't need. Let's go line up. Alright, so there we are lined up. That will be the end of this first impressions video on the Aerosoft Twin Otter Extended. In the next part we'll be taking off and flying direct to Barra and take a look at the autopilot and how this flies. Thanks for watching. As always, my name is Froogle. If you've not checked it out already, you can speak to me and see behind the scenes information on the videos at facebook.com/FroogleSim. See you next time.